One of the difficult things that I work through with a lot of individuals is this idea that when they've been manipulated or exploited, they blame themselves. And the reasons they blame themselves are many. But working through that self-blame is really, really difficult because it makes you feel bad, makes you feel really low about yourself, makes you feel stupid. But most of all, it deteriorates your self-trust. And I think after betrayal or of any kind, or being taken advantage of with friends or bullied or anything like that, requires that person to work through it. And part of that working through is unfortunately blaming themselves. So why do we do that? Like, why do we ask this persistent, pitiful question of how did I let this happen? Well, there will be good on the other side of that, but it's the process of self-blame that I think through healing, through understanding how to heal, you don't have to stay in that cycle for so long. I mean, it's one of the most common emotional aftershocks of being manipulated. Even when someone intellectually knows and understands they were deceived or controlled emotionally, they may still carry shame and guilt or a sense of complicity about it. And I think the more I can share with you why this happens, the more you'll be able to get right into the healing mode, which doesn't include this. Well, the number one reason people do this is a need to restore control. When somebody realizes they've been manipulated, they basically feel less autonomous and less safe. So the mind scrambles. What happened? You know, if they blame themselves, it's, even though it's irrational, what's going to happen is it's going to give them a sense of control because they have this idea, I can fix myself. But if you tell me it was beyond my control, I won't be able to fix that. If it was my fault, then maybe I can make sure it never happens again. Self-blame in this way becomes a coping mechanism, if you will, and a way to avoid the helplessness that often comes with being manipulated. And then there's the person who has the empath's traps. Let's face it, manipulators, exploiters, people who take advantage over others look for empaths. They look for people who are seeing the best in others, people who are vulnerable, people who basically have a trust and openness and a sensitivity. They become the source or the victim for a manipulator. So basically, when the empath replays the red flags and the gut feelings they ignored, judging their empathy as a weakness rather than a humanity, that's when they really take a hard hit. Because where in the past they may have been able to use their sense of empathy as a good thing they liked about themselves, now they may see it as a weakness, something that is not good, something they wish they didn't have. And disowning any part of yourself that you once cherished, anybody who's been through that knows just the terrible feeling of that, the loss of a part of yourself that you used to really believe in. Then there's the illusion of predictability. Humans need to believe there's a predictability. We crave a sense of order. So the belief that life makes sense, that we can foresee danger if we're careful enough, then that helps. Admitting manipulation was kind of an illusion, or that we just didn't, we weren't thinking, we were kind of being stupid, or we were being careless or something like that. Once again, blaming ourselves. It's to preserve a sense of predictability for us. The brain is trying to help us rewrite the story. I should have seen this coming is an example of this thought process. I must have missed something. So when you think like that, it helps you take control once again from this very uncontrollable situation. Because in my mind as a therapist, I don't think it was your fault, you were manipulated. I have seen manipulators in my office, and they are so slick and so good. It is very difficult to see them coming to, I mean, by the time you feel it or you get a sense of who this person is, it's oftentimes too late. They're already taking advantage of you and betraying you. And then just the shame of betrayed, intuition. You carry this shame with you, like, I thought I knew people, I thought I knew myself. And this inner conflict of, thinking, like always having this intuition that you are a good judge of character, be violated in this way, it's very difficult. And that's another reason we like taking blame. We like saying it was my own inhibition to explore the other side like that. I know in my heart that even though I expect the best of people and I know people, there are people who are underneath that radar enough that they can take advantage of other people. And I think the social and culture idea, basically it blames people who are manipulated. It doesn't ever tell a person who is a victim of manipulation, well, that person who manipulated you was really awful for doing that. They kind of accept that there's bad people and that you need to be aware. So if you let this person take advantage of you, then it is your fault. And I see this a lot in couples who have been cheated on. They'll tell me their mother or father or their loved one close to them, a good friend, says, well, I knew when you married this guy that this was the kind of person they were. And that is not helpful, and it's not true, because cheating is a choice. And usually in that scenario, it happens very quickly. Most cheaters aren't methodically thinking, well, I'm going to cheat. They make a choice at a moment when they're feeling bad, and it's a very bad choice. So to replace this, to heal through this self-blame, you do need to replace the blame with compassion. You need to remind yourself that self-blame isn't denial, it's self-compassion. So in other words, healing begins when a person can look at what happened and say, I was doing my best with the information and conditioning I had at the time. The more you're able to make what happened still your responsibility, but also giving it the compassion of saying, that was then. Now I probably am changed enough that I would see it, but at that time I did not. And that helps soften it for yourself, because remember, you can't really let go of it if you keep blaming yourself. That's why we need to heal through it. If no matter what, when it comes up, you still go back to blaming yourself, not realizing you've grown a lot since then. You're not that person. So what happened then would not happen now. When you add that component, it's much easier to wrap it up, if you will, put it in a file in your mind and move past it. With time, self-blame can give way to self-understanding, and from there to growth. And that's ideally what you want to do. The lesson isn't never trust again, but rather trust wisely and never abandon yourself in the process. The biggest problem with being manipulated is people who are usually realize they gave someone else the benefit of the doubt. They put themselves second to what they allowed that person to do, and that's where the error is. So no matter what, if someone loves you, they're going to do what's best for you. Or if someone's a good person, they're going to do what's best for you too. They're not going to use you to get ahead or to get what they want if it hurts you. And just going forward, if you always keep that in your mind, you're going to be able to work through this self-blame and rather use it as a lesson for going forward in the future. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.